Good morning and welcome to another edition of Community Issues. I'm your host, Omar Rashida, live right here on Leaks Access Channel 28, May the 6th, 2018. We're going to start the program off with, she's no stranger to the program. She's from the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence, Ms. Marianne Campbell Moore. Good morning.
Good morning, Omar.
Okay, now the Domestic Violence, Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence, you have some new programs that have started. One is a support group that men provide for your organization. You want to talk about how that goes about?
Sure. This past April, we had the governor proclaiming April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so one of the ideas that our Delaware Men program developed was in response to the Me Too program, to be proactive and for us to think about ways that we can prevent sexual violence. And so we joined in a campaign called the #IWill campaign.
Right.
And Omar, this was the I Will sign that you did earlier today.
Yeah,
and this was one that we did earlier in the month of April as well.
Okay.
I will relentlessly advocate to end sexual violence. And so some of the things that we were trying to do earlier in April was to raise awareness about how everyone can do little things, whether stop and intervene in a situation or believe someone when they're telling them about an experience that they had, that we all have a responsibility in making sure that it's not just the victims that have to speak out, but what can we do to create a community that helps support them.
Now you just said believe the victim. You know, that's very important because there are cases where a victim may go to, she may confide with a family member, immediate family member, so-and-so touched me inappropriately, so-and-so did this, and the family member don't believe him because that person may be a religious clergyman, or that person may have been a best friend for 30 years, or he would never do that, you know, so that's kind of rough there.
It is, it's very rough.
As a matter of fact, I would say that's more painful than sexual abuse itself.
And I think what happens to many of the people who get that reaction from the people they trust and they care is that they think, well, if they didn't believe me, then no one will. And so that's why saying things like, I will believe someone. I mean, there have been times in my own life where people have shared things with me that I wasn't ready to hear. But you have to just recognize that these things happen, and that as much as we don't want to believe that this can occur to people we care about, that it can.
Now, where some of the organizations or educational facilities that you have going to in terms of this movement?
Yeah, our Delaware Men's program is really phenomenal. Amy Hopkins in our office is the point of contact for that. But she's working with programs like the National Guard, University of Delaware, Delaware State University, Wilmington University. We're also working with community groups and the Division of Public Health and others to try and raise awareness about what we can do to end violence and to get in touch with young people and educate them about what healthy relationships are about, what consent means. You know, if somebody says no, what does that mean, you know?
Now, let's turn the tables for a little bit. Let's say that you have a male who's sexually abused. Now, he may be embarrassed. He might not even say that. He may be embarrassed to even go to the police or authority or someone to confide that he has been a sexual violence against a woman, you know, because men generally don't do that. So in terms of supporting the males who are sexual abuse victims, how does that work with the organization? Well, how supportive of the organization?
Right, sure. And I think you really pointed out a real difficulty that people have. We know the studies tell us that there are just as many men who experience sexual violence as women, but our reports to law enforcement are predominantly female. But the support is available. There are support groups, there are counselors, there are advocates who are willing and able to work with men. And so instead of being perhaps in a mixed group of men and women, you know, we find support groups that are more appropriate for that individual. So
and some of these victims, you know, they may not have been sexually abused as adults, but you know, maybe as children, little boys and little girls.
Sure. Yeah, it is an experience that happens to people throughout their entire lifespan. Even elderly people certainly can experience sexual violence, but it also cuts across all racial groups, all genders, all economic levels. It's something that's very common, but
Right.
again, something that up until recent time wasn't talked about,
Right.
much like domestic violence.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you have another program in terms of
We
victims of
do.
domestic violence. It has to deal with finances and economics.
We do, and we are really excited about this program. It's actually been funded primarily through the Allstate Foundation.
Okay.
And this past year, we had a number of Allstate agents here locally who helped us in fundraising. They did a supply drive and all. So we're really grateful to the resources that Allstate provided us. But what they recognize is that income and financial issues are one of the main reasons that women in particular tell us that they need to return to a relationship, even though they might feel like they're going to be at risk, even though
Right.
it might be abusive. And so our programs are going to do a number of things to try to help people gain control of their finances, learn how to budget,
Right.
learn how to manage their money,
Right.
so that they can live strong and independent lives.
Now, in terms of resources, many of them may have 2 or 3 children and they need some financial assistance. Does your program help those in terms of getting resources and financial assistance?
Certainly. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we do is sit down with the participants in these educational programs, and Child Inc. and the YWCA here in town both offer these programs. But we'll sit down with someone one-on-one. They can participate in classes, and if you attend classes, you get gift cards.
Okay.
And sometimes those gift cards can be turned back in and redeemed so that you can have additional money to put in your bank account. We help people get bank accounts. Lots of people
Okay.
don't have access to bank accounts.
Right,
We
right.
help address the credit history. If your credit has been impacted, many of the women that come to program tell us that their partner has ruined their credit, or they've had to go into
right.
debt in order to take care of certain things.
Right.
And so we work with people and try to help them get their credit restored. In fact, we're really excited. We're hoping in the very near future to be able to offer a microloan here in Newcastle
Okay.
County. We
Right.
have a program in Kenton, Sussex currently through
Right.
People's Place that's been really able to help people get back on their feet, pay for bills or things,
Right.
or maybe put money down. We have a match savings program, so every
Right.
dollar that you save, we contribute towards it. So we're doing a lot of things to try to help people get back on their feet.
And I'm sitting here listening. I think I'm not sure if the classes are at shelters, because there are victims who are currently in shelters, and I think shelters are supposed to be temporarily. So I think if you have the classes at shelters, it can help them be even more sufficient and independent, once they leave the shelter. So
Yeah.
are these classes taught at shelters, or are they just mainly at different organizations?
No, yes, they are in our shelters. So
Okay,
we're offering
okay.
them to the residents that stay at the YW. We offer them to the residents at Child Inc. But the YW is also able to provide these
Okay.
services to people who are still living in the community. I
Okay.
mean, maybe you don't want to go to shelter. Maybe you're not able to do that or want to do that.
Right.
But you want to get your financial house in order so that if you do need to leave, you can. And so that's why planning is so very important for people.
Right.
If you don't have the financial resources to leave if you've left and stay away, then you're going to have to return. And so we want to help people get some of these issues addressed early too.
Okay, let's talk about the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Talk briefly about the organization, and then how long have you been with the organization, and what is your role?
So the Delaware Coalition is a nonprofit agency here in the state, and our primary mission is to advance the work of ending violence in every relationship. And so that means that over the years we've had to do a variety of things. We work to do prevention programming.
Right.
We try to educate people and raise awareness. We do a lot of training with professionals who are in the field, but we also do policy advocacy, and that's my
Okay,
role. I'm the
right.
Director of Advocacy and Policy at the Coalition, and
Right.
so I am always, as my grandmother would say, stirring the pot. I'm
Right.
always trying to get people to work closer together, to think about when the system perhaps might not be as strong in support of someone, what we can do to build that up. Working frequently with partners in the medical field and criminal justice to try and make sure that we are taking a balanced approach to families
Right.
and really helping them.
Okay, we have 2 minutes remaining in this segment. You have any closing comments? You want to leave a website or phone number for the viewers to call?
Sure. I would like to, if I could, suggest that people contact Child Inc.,
Okay.
which is, their main number is 762-8989. And then the YW is at 224-4060. And if people wanted to learn more about our Delaware Men program,
Right.
they can find that out at delawaremen.org. It's,
Okay.
we have our own website and our own program there. If people want to get perhaps their church or their organization involved with our Delaware Men program,
Right.
we would love to welcome new partners.
Okay, on that note, I'd like to thank you for coming on once
Certainly.
again. Okay,
It's always a pleasure.
Okay, I guess you'll be back on in October, right?
We look forward to that. We know that you've always been a supporter
Okay.
of our work.
Okay. And live right here on Lisa SS Channel 28, you're watching Community Issues. I'm going to take a short break with my next guest.
Broadway producer Chad Lawson Cooper brings Justice on Trial, Black Lives Matter 2, the play from Broadway, starring Alicia Robinson Cooper, lead singer for John P. Key and the VIP choir, He's My Rock. There's not a play on the planet like Justice on Trial. This production is about two civil rights attorneys suing the U.S. Justice Department for reparations for African Americans.
Blacks were kings and queens, not only ruling, but building pyramids in which modern-day scientists and architects just can't seem to figure out.
While bringing back time traveler witnesses such as Harriet Tubman, Medgar Evers, and Emmett Till.
Did you disobey their wishes and whistle at that white woman? How dare you, Emmett?
Blame everything on white folks.
You haven't got what it takes to take what I've got. Have a seat.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Omar Rashida. Now joining me is a very special guest. This is her first appearance on Community Issues. She's running for the 3rd District State Senate position. Elizabeth Lockman, good morning.
Hi, nice. Thank you so much for having me.
So I call you Elizabeth, or so I'll call you Tizzy?
You can
All
call me
right?
Tizzy.
Okay,
Once I
Tizzy.
get to know people, they pretty much all stick with that.
So once again, you're running for the third district
I am.
state senate position.
State
First of all,
Senate.
What is a state senate? What is the role of a state senator?
So obviously we have our General Assembly down in Dover who set all the legislation and policy that really impacts our daily lives as Delawareans. I think a lot of people don't realize how much they do that's really important and impacts us. And so the role of the state senate, that's the smaller chamber. We have the House and the Senate.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's 41 people in the House, 21 people in the Senate. And so the chambers sort of keep a check on each other when a bill comes through. And some bills originate in the Senate, some in the House. And so they're lawmakers.
Okay.
They're the ones making the laws and setting the rules that govern our lives.
So you've probably been asked this question a million times, so I'm gonna make it 1,000,001 times.
Okay.
Why did you decide to run?
It's a great question. I definitely, it was a little bit of a surprise to me in a way to get that bug to come into politics, because I see myself, I've always seen myself as more of a behind the scenes kind of a person. I got my professional start actually in communications as a producer, so I sort of see myself behind the curtain with the clipboard, getting things done, and you know, really helping other people to speak up. And so as I began to get more involved in policy, really through education, because I have a daughter, she's 14 now, but I got very involved in her schooling and really got very passionate about, you know, some of the gaps and the inequities in our school system. So I started studying more about that, getting more involved in advocating for school improvement, and that really snowballed. I started taking more prominent leadership positions in that kind of work. And then my day-to-day professional work, I also went in that direction. So I run an initiative at the Christina Cultural Arts Center called the Parent Advocacy Council for Education, and that's really all about helping folks in the community understand the power that they have, the right and responsibility to participate in the system and elevate their voices. And so I think there was a moment where I realized, in the chaos of 2016 and the presidential election and you know, our mayoral election, all that kind of stuff, is that I felt like my passion areas, the skills that I developed, actually made me well suited potentially to step into this, to be a lawmaker that could really do the kind of work I do on a smaller scale and pass policies and advocate for better government that would help elevate our people and make sure that Delaware is a stronger place in the midst of all the chaos of what's going on nationally, and then hopefully, you know, maybe have that make an impact on a wider scale and get America going in the right direction. So I mean, obviously I'm not the only one who got that. I think a lot of people felt that way in the last couple of years, that this is really serious and we can't afford to hang back and be shy about it. It's really important to you know what's important to fight for in our communities and get in there and advance those kinds of things. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, your platform.
Okay.
Economics, public safety.
Right. So education is the big one, because that's what I'm grounded in, and I understand a lot of the really boring stuff about education policy, which is really important. There's a lot of reform we need to work on, and making that accessible to all of our community to understand what we can do better, and then. So that's a big piece of it, and I think it's connected to all those other things you just mentioned. So public safety is big. I've been out there knocking on doors since the end of October, and a lot of people are like, I'm worried about crime, I'm worried about this and that. And there's a couple sides to that, right? Like, we want to have safer communities, but to me, what's really important is that we make sure that all of our communities are safe, that we're not looking at, you know, harsher policing to benefit some of our neighborhoods at the expense of other neighborhoods. So I've been on the board of the American Civil Liberties Union of Delaware for like almost 8 years, and have learned a lot about criminal justice system and reforms that are needed to make sure that we're not victimizing, you know, particularly our Black and brown communities, in order to make people feel safe. So that's a part of public safety to me that I would really like to work on, to make sure that we're giving people the services that they need, and the protection that they need no matter where they live. And then of course economic opportunity, it's kind of a similar thing. Like, jobs, it's jobs. If you have jobs, you have you know, the opportunity to have stable homes. And it was really interesting listening to Mary Ann talk about, you know, the issues she faces with domestic violence. That's where everything begins, right? And so you can create a stable home life. You can really minimize a lot of that kind of stuff happening, and deliver the services that are needed to prevent that.
And just to add on jobs, it's not only unemployment, but it's underemployment. Some people had to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet.
I've been there. I'm, you know, always there. And so I definitely relate to that. And I think, you know, Wilmington's been at this juncture for a really long time of are we going to boom? Are we going to, you know, just sort of keep on this little plateau? And I think I grew up in Wilmington. I live on 9th and Franklin, and I have since I was a little kid. And, you know, I think Wilmington has so much potential, and I think for me, what would be part of that boom would be to make sure that all these new businesses, it seems like we might be getting in, and all these new opportunities and really exciting news about the port. I think what excites me is the opportunity to step in and advocate to make sure that every segment of our community in this district gets to participate in that.
Right.
And that's something that hasn't been true for the last 40 years.
Right.
We have a lot of neighborhoods where, you know, that are just full of folks who've been left out. And other neighborhoods that maybe are a little bit more stable but have been losing some ground.
Right.
So I'm very interested in policies and advocacy that I can do to make sure bring everybody along. And to me, that's what's going to make the difference in whether or not we become the city that we can be.
I want to ask you a question that I ask every politician that came on here. You know, I'm a playwright and an actor, and you have a background in the arts, you know, film and studies.
Yes.
And you work at the Christina Cultural Arts Center.
I do, I love it.
Dance, music, and acting. In terms of being a state senator, if you win, how supportive will you be in terms of the arts?
Oh, I think it's crucial. I mean, I've done a lot of work in the art scene, really as a supporter. As I said, I'm a behind-the-scenes clipboard person.
Okay,
I'm not going to be the one on the stage. I get a little nervous, but I'm learning.
Right.
So for me, I just think there's so much that happens through the arts that's beneficial. People can explore ideas and talents and really come together in a unified way, which I think is really important. So yeah, anything I can do to support and to elevate those really important assets that we have in the community. And
Right.
I think we have I know we have incredible talent,
yeah, definitely,
particularly in the 3rd District.
Okay.
Musicians and fine artists and
Right.
writers and
Right, definitely.
and I think we don't realize. I think we focus a lot on like the bigger businesses, and I don't think we realize how important it is that we be a vibrant city.
Right.
And seeing I mean, there's a number of artists I could name who have like music coming out this year and shows that they're doing.
Right.
And I just think that's going to be the key. That's going to be what Wilmington's known for, that makes people want to come here, that makes people want to stay here. And for this particular district, which we're in right now, but has the downtown Wilmington and everything like that, I think absolutely. I wouldn't be serving my community well if I didn't make sure to be an advocate for the arts.
Okay, we have like 2.5 minutes remaining. So
it's fast.
you want to talk about where the district covers, and then any final plea in terms of getting volunteers and why
Sure.
people should vote for you?
So the district is pretty expansive. It's like 6 square miles around downtown Wilmington and the riverfront. Oh, right, there it is. So yeah, you can see we pick up a lot of western Wilmington, but the east side's in there too, except for just where Howard and Stubbs are.
Okay.
So if you live in any of that area, you are eligible to support me in the September primary. I really want to emphasize that this district, the primary is the race. So September 6th is when, if you are a registered Democrat, you will have the opportunity to select the Democrat that is going to advance. And that pretty much is it. That's the decision, because we don't usually have a meaningful challenger from the Republican side in November. So in order to get to that point, yeah, we're just knocking doors. I'm having conversations with a ton of people already. We've knocked on thousands, and there's thousands more to reach.
Right.
And it'd be great to have people come out and join me. It's a lot of fun, just getting to know our neighborhoods, getting to know our neighbors. And you can go to the website, lockmanforsenate.org, and sign up to be a volunteer. Come out. Right now we're really in a listening mode. We knock the door, we ask people what's important to you, and certainly all those things that we talked about, just making sure that we get more people involved, because this district has had really historically poor participation, and I really want to turn that around. That's part of empowering us. That's part of us, you know, taking hold of our destiny as a community, and this whole door knocking thing is part of it. So anyone who's up for that, please come with me, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the last few months to September and bringing it home.
Okay, on that note, we're going to end today's program.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for tuning in, being a guest
Keep up
on
the good work.
Community Issues. And if you want to come on again, just let me know.
I would love to.
All right, thank you for tuning in to another edition of Community Issues. I'll be back in 2 weeks. God bless and have a safe week.